Welcome back to Couch Talk, everybody. I just got back from seeing Bohemian Rhapsody, the true story about Freddie Mercury and how he formed the band Queen. It stars Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury, and it's directed by Bryan Singer, who also did the X-Men movies. Well, it's mostly directed by Bryan Singer. He apparently got fired towards the end of the production because he was just really difficult to work with, and he was getting in a lot of arguments with Rami Malek about how the character of Freddie Mercury should be played. But really, this movie is just the journey of how they met, formed this band, made some of the most iconic songs they made, what broke them up for a little bit, and the lead up to the very legendary performance at the Live Aid Theater towards the end of their career together. Now, in a nutshell, I really do love this movie. I thought it was really good. I see some of the negative press on the movie and some of the negative reviews about how it's a very cookie cutter movie and how it just follows the same beats as other movies of this caliber before it. And I mean, I agree and I disagree. I think that this movie is a lot different than a lot of the other things you've seen, like Straight Outta Compton and 8 Mile. I mean, the leading man was known for being homosexual, and he's very flamboyant in this movie, and that shows. They don't shy away from it. I was afraid that they wouldn't dive into that at all, and that they would kind of only glorify the relationship he had with his girlfriend, but they do. They do touch upon the fact that he was openly gay, and he wasn't afraid to admit it, and he was very flamboyant. So with that being said, you have something very unique that you don't get in a lot of other things. This movie does a good job of trying to add in a little piece of everything that happened in his life leading up to that Live Aid Theater performance. There was a lot of tension between him and the band, which they showed, which I'm very happy about. He does have a very big sexual-oriented backstory, which they loosely touch upon, but they touch upon it, and there was a lot to make this band who they were, and they did a good job of adding everything in there. I'm really happy that I got to see how a lot of the songs were made, like Bohemian Rhapsody, probably their most famous song. It was really interesting just to see how that whole went down and how, all of their minds together created that unique sound. Rami Malek gives the performance of a lifetime. I would be really surprised if he does not get nominated for an Oscar for this, because he really blows this role out of the water, and it is so uncanny how much he actually looks like Freddie Mercury. And the whole cast, they just did a really good job of making this cast look exactly like who they were playing, and they all really nailed it. But through and through, this is a Freddie Mercury movie, which is what a lot of people don't understand going into this movie. Even me, myself, I thought this movie would follow the other characters a little bit more, but it really is. This movie should have been called the Freddie Mercury movie, because that's what it was all about. It was about him and his struggles and everything. And then you get to that, performance at the end where they show you the Live Aid Theater performance, and it's just so electrifying and so unlike anything you've ever seen before. And, there was I think 1.5 billion people watching this throughout the world, and 100,000 people just in the theater alone, and it's just jaw-dropping to watch it. The music's great. Obviously, it's all lip-synced. I don't think that anybody could ever actually, recreate the voice of Freddie Mercury, but the lip-syncing is so good. And the whole movie kind of feels like a fast-moving music video. A lot of the times where they do concerts, the screen will fade to black, and, all these words start flying at the screen. It's almost like you're watching a music video, and it's really cool how Bryan Singer did that. Now, as much as I love the movie, this movie to me was more or less a performance than a movie, if that makes any sense. And what I mean by that is, this movie is only 2 hours long, and they have to cram a lot into this movie in that 2 hours, so they have to literally gloss over everything. And that's really the only problem I have with this movie. It's just that it touches upon all of these important things in his life, but it doesn't stick around long enough for it to have a very big impact. To me, a good Queen movie would be a movie showing us why these people ticked. You can't make a good Queen movie without showing us how these people tick. You need to really delve into their personal life and show who they really are to understand how these minds came together and made a song like Bohemian Rhapsody. You get, a little 2-minute montage of how they kind of got it together, but Freddie Mercury was very unique, and he had a very, very crazy and wild lifestyle, a personal lifestyle, away from the cameras. And I actually heard that Sacha Baron Cohen was originally supposed to play this role, but he backed out because he felt that the only way to do this role was to show that wild side of him. But apparently, the band and everyone behind making the movie wanted to make it more family oriented. So he backed out, and I see why, because As much as I loved watching a movie about Queen and seeing like all like the fun they had, like I would have really liked a lot more of like the drama, kind of like what Straight Outta Compton did. I would have liked to see more behind the scenes at why these people were so unique. You know, there was nothing like Queen. They reinvented music and like, you know, they made a song that had rap, opera, rock, like all in one song, and it takes a lot of unique minds to make that. I would have liked to see more of how they brought that out. You know, it also very vaguely touches upon Freddie Mercury's sexuality, and it's almost like they wanted to show a lot of the music in the movie, and they also wanted to show a lot of his personal life, but they didn't have the time, so they kind of like mixed it. So like while he's putting on a performance, you also see flashes of him walking through like an orgy, and it's just very like quick little cuts, but it's like not just those scenarios. I don't want to go into spoilers, but there are other scenarios that go on in this movie where they really just gloss over it over like a montage, and it's things I really wanted to see. The one focus it really gets is the relationship I feel with him and his not wife but his girlfriend. Like they go back to that a lot. But even like the whole thing about him getting AIDS, like they really gloss over it very fast. And he says it in the movie, like he says like I don't want people to pity me, like I want to spend, you know, the remainder of my time like making more music and doing what I love. But I would have liked to see how that affects him more and affects, you know, everyone around him. And, you know, they kind of glossed over him telling his parents, but you clearly know that he told his parents because of the way that his father's acting when they share the last scene together. And just stuff like that. This movie, it went too fast and didn't get to cover anything. And that's, I mean, I can't really fault the movie because if I had it my way, this movie would be 4 hours long. And that's how long it would probably need to successfully tell this entire story. But you just can't do that in Hollywood. So they have to cram it into 2 hours and cut things out. And it kind of felt like Batman vs. Superman, where they filmed a 3.5 hour movie and then shaved scenes down. And it kind of feels like you're not watching one fluid movie, but you're just watching 2 hours of just scenes. Like, say you find scenes on YouTube of a movie, like all your favorite scenes of a movie. It's not the whole movie, it's just your favorite scenes, and you play them all back to back. It feels like they shaved, like, a scene out of every other scene, so you're only getting like every other scene in the movie. It just doesn't feel coherent. Like there's a scene where like Freddie Mercury and his girlfriend are like still a thing, and then they have like a fight and they split up, and 2 scenes later it's like a year later and she has another boyfriend, and it was just, I was like, whoa, they were just together like 2 scenes ago and now she has a boyfriend that she just said she was with for a long time. And they're trying to speed up this movie so fast that like every other scene is so drastically in the future that it doesn't have enough time to let you sink in on the present, and it was a little uncomfortable. I'm so at odds with the statement I'm about to make, but I'm going to say it and hopefully you understand. This movie deserves to be seen on the big screen because of the performances alone and the music, and you want to see this in, you know, and on a giant big screen with the surround sound of an IMAX theater, which is what I saw it in, and it really feels like you're there. In the concerts, when he's there, like you feel like you're in a concert with him, and there's no other way to see this movie. But I think it would have benefited more if it was like a mini series on HBO or something, and you got like a 10-hour series about his life, because I think that could have covered it more. And you could have gotten all the juicy details of the behind-the-scenes stuff, which is what this movie really needed to get it to like a perfect score for me. The only other 2 gripes I have with this movie really is Freddie Mercury was a little bit thicker and Rami Malek was really skinny. And I mean, I watched a lot of videos of Freddie Mercury leading up to this movie, so I'm just so used to seeing like his thickness. And honestly, the performance at the end at the Live Aid Theater, listen, I know that they couldn't pack an entire stadium with 100,000 people just for a movie, and they had to use a lot of CGI for this scene, you know, where he's performing at this theater, because you can't fill a theater like that. But the CGI was great, but I would have liked to see more of the stadium. Like they shined a lot of the spotlight on Freddie Mercury at the end and like his performance on the stage, but I wanted to see kind of that integrated with the audience, because it's seeing the audience like sing along and dance along and like stomp their feet. That's the electrifying part of it, to see how many people were just in unison. And you do get little pieces here and there, and I don't know if it was the budget or if they just wanted to focus more on him, but you don't get as much as I thought you would. So that was just a tiny bit disappointing. But yeah, overall, I think Rami Malek is so electrifying in this role, and I would really be surprised if he did not get nominated for an Oscar for this, because he just killed this role. I had a huge smile on my face the whole time. Like I said, I wish it could have been longer, but that's just me. I'm aware that most people don't really want to be in a movie for more than 2 hours. But I just think that there's so much juicy detail there that they kind of glossed over that it takes away from the movie a little bit and takes you out of the experience. I'm going to give this movie an 8.5. I think it could have greatly benefited from more time. I still think Rami Malek should have put on a little bit more weight to play this role, but at this point I'm just nitpicking. It's still definitely worth the watch. It's not as bad as some people are saying it is. It is definitely worth to see in the theater. Go and check this out, and then come back here and let's talk about it down in the comments down below. Anyway, as always, I'll catch you next time.